So up next, we're going to be pre-drying a bob. So the reason why the pre-dry method is not always the same, it's because obviously different hairstyles are different. Some of the things that tend to happen in a bob are, people might have growth patterns that are a little unruly. Plus the hair is shorter, so it's going to be more inclined to go in the direction of those growth patterns. So it's really important to make sure that you control those from the very start. So that's the whole purpose behind pre-drying a bob. So what we're going to do is we're going to section off, and it's going to be very simple. It's just going to be a bilateral section, or it could be done to a part line, however you want to do it. You can use whatever tool you want to part it off. I'm just pretending like I finished a haircut and I've still got my comb in my hands. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll with that. So I'm going to do a bilateral parting and then also a part down from the top of the crown to the tip of the ear, kind of mirroring the way that we would actually cut the bob, which leads us into like how we're going to blow dry section by section, which is also reflective of how we would cut the bob. So for this, I'm going to work in fairly small sections because I really want to be detailed in how I address each section and the growth patterns that exist within them. So I'm going to choose a 9-row half-round brush. And the reason why I am is because it's going to give me the required tension to help me to control these growth patterns a little bit more than, say, a vent brush would. Remember, vent brush is like way to the left on the scale of how much tension it gives. So this is a few rungs up from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig in first with the first 3 rows of teeth. That way I really get a good wrap in there and I can really work on controlling those growth patterns. Again, I'm really just going to focus my airflow right at the scalp area, not trying to over dry my ends, but working on controlling those growth patterns. Okay, next I'm going to drop another section, making sure that I part to my finger every single time. That just makes the flow a lot better. It keeps your work cleaner. It looks good as you're going through it. And if you can get really efficient at parting, it makes your work so much faster and so much more efficient. It's really important to keep your airflow moving a little bit so that way we're not gonna burn our client. Okay, once the roots are dry, I'm gonna drop down another section and we're just gonna keep rolling through it just like this. So I'm not gonna work for a whole lot of volume. Now, if I did want some volume, I might start working for it here by lifting away from the scalp, but I'm really gonna want to style this nice and lean. So I'm gonna keep everything a little bit flatter to the head, so stretching everything downward. As you're going through, really be plugged into your blow dry. Really look at what's going on at the scalp, so that way you can analyze and you can address what's going on. If there is something funky that's not doing what you want it to do, you can get in there and tweak it and get it to behave. Now, if I wanted like a big bob, I would start working this up. Since I don't, I'm just gonna drag that out, kind of flat to the head. Okay, just using those first 3 rows of bristles to get a lot of tension. Okay, and then that brings me to my top sections. And notice how slow my brush hand is moving. So I want to take that nice and slow. Sometimes people feel like they need to have this hand moving really fast, but it creates an element of stress for your guests, and it actually makes you work slower even though it looks like you're moving faster. So moving in through my sides, again, really just kind of doing the same thing, using the first couple of rows of teeth to get in there and control those growth patterns. If somebody's got really curly hair, this is a good brush and a good technique to really get control of that. And really get that air all the way down there, but make sure you're just skimming the surface. Okay, so now I can come around and I can feel that my roots are dry, but I've still got a little bit of moisture in those ends, so I'm just gonna go through and lightly hit those to get them to Goldilocks. Yeah, it's important that you don't get it completely dry just yet. Again, just addressing those ends. The only time that they can be affected by the styling of your blow dryer is whenever they are damp. And the only time they're gonna stay is when they're dry. So you wanna try and just catch it right in that transition zone. So that is pre-drying a bob. Any questions, please leave them in the comments. Stay tuned, we've got more F University coming with lots more techniques and lots more knowledge coming your way.